You're watching TVC News at 10. We're staying in Nigeria's commercial nerve center where we're following developments as regards passengers being stranded at the Lagos airport as flight operations were disrupted. That happened when members of the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria blocked the entrance gates of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport Terminal 2 in Lagos. According to the protesters, this is because of the unprovoked termination of the appointment of some 34 aviation workers by the operators of the airport terminal, the Courtney Aviation Service Limited. TVC News' Sharon Ejason reports.
Workers at the Murtala Mohammed Airport Terminal 2 picketed this terminal over alleged unfair labor practice and the termination of more than 34 workers' employment here in Lagos, Nigeria. Workers here are determined to continue this picketing exercise until relevant authorities yield to their demands.
Last Friday, was it 27 or 28? They all got letter of termination of their appointment. On Thursday, before that Friday, their colleagues that are within got their pay. They were excluded, contrary to the letters and spirit of that 10 days leave of absence, that their salaries and allowances will be taken care of. One, they should withdraw those letters. Two, they are entitled to their October salaries because we are sure that they are still staff of Courtney.
I met with Benga Dairo, a security officer and chairman of Courtney branch of the Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, whose appointment was also terminated. Dairo sheds more light on how the management of Courtney Aviation Services Limited, operators of the Terminal 2 at the airport, sacked 34 members of the union on the company's payroll. He said, after working for 17 years at the company, he deserves better treatment than being sacked via an email.
In the fact that I also work in a critical department in the airport, because all we do at this point is all about security. Everything at the airport, even when you see people coming from outside the country, from America, from for audit of the airport, is mostly security. And it's quite unfortunate that you maltreat these same people that are performing such critical role.
Though flight schedules were interrupted here in Lagos, Nigeria, passengers are hopeful that the Courtney management will do the needful to ensure that collective bargaining agreements are being honored and a repeat of such incidents does not occur anymore. Sharon Ejason, TVC News, Lagos.
And in the swift reaction, the management of Courtney Aviation Services Limited has described the shutting down of the Airport Terminal 2 at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, by protesting aviation workers as an unlawful action. It says the action is contrary to laid-down principles of industrial relations, a total violation of the laws of Nigeria, and a recipe for anarchy. In a statement released on Tuesday, Courtney says there was no proper notice of what it described as a damaging behavior. The company alleged that the union brought in members who are not employees of Courtney Aviation Services Limited to prevent its employees from working. It adds that the company has the inherent right to manage its business in the most prudent manner and should not be intimidated by external forces. The company also apologized to all its clients and stakeholders, saying the union continues to lock up its premises in a clear violation of court order. Away from that to budgetary matters, where Nigeria's Minister of Works and Housing says 20 major highway projects totaling 444.32 billion naira have now been completed. Babatunde Fashola identifies inadequate funding as a major challenge hindering the completion of many road projects in the country. National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa reports.
It's a busy period at the National Assembly as various agencies of the federal government appear before many of the standing committees to defend their 2022 expenditures and confirm the projection for the coming year. Babatunde Fashola before the Works Committee gives an overview of the ministry's 515.95 billion naira for 2022. He says inadequate funding and shortage of younger engineers as a result of the ban on employment are the major challenges facing the ministry. The minister says 20 major highway projects have been completed in 2022 at the sum of 444.32 billion naira, while 59 others are near completion. The committee applauded the commitment of the leadership of the ministry and gives it a clean bill of health.
Our obligations for works done in terms of outstanding certificates must not be made a subsidiary obligation. This is the way to keep the economy going. It is those suppliers, those small companies who ultimately get these monies. So we must not leave them behind.
So many projects have been completed through private partnership. So of course we know the budgetary allocation we have is not enough. So the only way is engaging private partners. I'm glad MTN are showing interest and other multinational companies.
Elsewhere, the Science and Technology Committee hosted Shared Science and Technology, CHESCO, NOTAP, and the Energy Commission of Nigeria. The committee renews its commitment to addressing the challenges of shortage of personnel at CHESCO. It also promises to give the needed support to the commission to drive Nigeria's renewable energy vision.
We must exploit the renewable energy sector for the good growth of our economic sector and of the development of our youth. To achieve these goals, the management of ECN must look beyond the meager budgetary allocation, seeking alternative funding platforms.
More agencies of the federal government are slated to take their turns before the standing committees of the House of Representatives up until the 15th of November. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
Now, the presidential flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a few hours ago, presented his action plan to captains of industry and other key players in the private sector. During the presentation, Asiwaju Tinubu promised that his administration would revive Nigeria's dead industries if elected come 2023. Business editor Toluloko Gunjobi was at the event. In our reports.
The business community was fully represented, with the president of Dangote Group, Mr. Aliko Dangote, Mr. Jimovia, chairman Zenith Bank, chairman Harris Holding, Mr. Tony Elumelu, former chief executive of Access Bank, Mr. Herbert Wigwe, and other leaders representing sectoral groups operating in the country. Political associates, party leaders, state governors, former and serving senators and lawmakers, senior officers of the campaign council were also in attendance. The APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, laid out his action plan before the business leaders and solicited for their support. He believes that a viable economy requires collaboration between political and business leaders.
We must target, and we will, I assure you, target growth. At very least, we must achieve GDP growth of minimum 6%, if not 10% per annum. Promote agriculture. We shall continue to press reforms in the sector that will increase productivity, improve farm incomes, while lowering food prices and bring enough food to the table of ordinary people. Power. Nigeria, I am determined. They are Nigerians, I am determined, I repeat, to give you the affordable and reliable power you need to drive your businesses in a way that lifts the entire economy and ordinary person.
For the vice presidential candidate of the party, the APC team is ready to revive dead industries, promote agriculture, provide power, produce and use made in Nigerian goods, build infrastructure, and most importantly, improve the country's security situation.
That insecurity is a major deterrent of private enterprises and investments, not to talk of the trade to life and livelihoods. That is why We plan to adopt a proactive and intelligence-driven approach to addressing the nation's security challenges. These will include bolstering security forces in numbers, training, equipment, salaries, and welfare. In the last 8 years, our defense budget has increased from 400 billion naira to 1.2 trillion naira per annum. In similar vein, our administration is prepared to make the necessary further investments in order to significantly reduce the nation's security threats. On the other topical matter of the economy, our target, is rightly encapsulated by my principal, is to achieve double-digit GDP growth within a couple of years.
At that time, we all, through his leadership, also created the Lagos Lacete document, which was a sectoral dissection of what the economy and the economics of Lagos should be for the next 5 to 10 years. You will recall also that it was also during his time that we usually have a regular interactive session with the organized private sector. And you also recall that during his time, several firsts were recorded.
The event also featured a panel session largely made up of young Nigerians who brought their minds intelligently on the developmental plan of the APC, which according to them is highly achievable. Tolulokpe Ogunjobi, TVC News, Lagos.
The Atiku Okowa Presidential Campaign Organization says Nigerians should blame the APC-led administration for the dwindling value of the Nigerian currency and the security situation in the country. Director Strategic Communication, Dele Momodu, spoke at a media briefing in Abuja. He says despite denials by the federal government, the security situation in the country is in dire straits.
The candidate is deeply concerned by the cost of living crisis, which is daily worsened by the hyperinflation on Nigerians by the ineptitude of the APC administration. We are, however, assuring Nigerians that help is on the way, as the policies enunciated with the policy document, our covenant with Nigerians, will not only bring Nigeria out of poverty, but also herald an era of prosperity and sustainable development in the PDP government come 2023.
We have said, in spite of what you see as challenges in our party, that we are already moving on. The train has left the station, which is why we are campaigning. We are the only party that have gone to 3 states to campaign officially. None of the other political parties have been able to do that. It's only the other day that one of the parties met somewhere in Nasarawa, and of course you saw the outcome in terms of the gathering. And so if we have been able to move with the train, we are also ready at any given time to stop at relevant train stations to pick up new passengers, including those who are reluctant to join at the moment.
Thanks for staying with us. In Borno State, peace is gradually returning to once troubled areas as the state government's resettlement drive is now in top gear. With that in mind, stakeholders from the civil society groups say ensuring adequate security and basic amenities to returnees is necessary in order to build up their resilience. Jesse Tafida reports.
Borno State, the epicenter of the 13-year Boko Haram crisis, is now enjoying relative peace. This is as a result of the effort put in place by the Nigerian military. It has enabled the state government close down most IDP camps to fast-track its resettlement drive. Today, stakeholders from the civil society organizations, representatives of government and non-governmental organizations are here to map out ways on how best to enhance livelihood opportunities and improve security in affected communities.
It's a new approach of ensuring that a policy dialogue is organized where the voice of everyone counts, and at the end of the day will come with an all-inclusive approach to situation. The needs are massive and the situation is quite challenging, but the people are resilient, and there is urgent need for all stakeholders to come on board to support.
Agriculture is one area where, when fully reactivated and implemented, it will naturally attract the people back to their communities and then resettle them.
The meeting suggests that providing adequate livelihood intervention by government and NGOs to the returnees is a safe path to build their resilience.
It's a community-driven approach geared towards persuading the fighters to surrender and embrace peace. Like I said, it's 50-50, win-win situation. So far we had the low risk and the minor, 3,500. The majority of these surrendered are farmers, just like the theater commander said. They are farmers, women, and children.
Stakeholders from this conference want repentant and reintegrated members of Boko Haram to always behave themselves in their respective communities so as to build new relationship with the populace. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Elsewhere, more than 5,000 beneficiaries of a program to improve the well-being of residents within the Federal Capital Territory have received debit cards. The Minister of State for the FCT disclosed that the program is part of government's effort to cushion the effects of the post-COVID-19 era for the poor and vulnerable. We'll bring you details of that story subsequently. We're still in Lagos, where the State Fire and Rescue Service recovered the body of an adult male from a fire incident at plot 1114 Adiola Odeku Street in Victoria Island. According to a statement by the director, the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Adesheye Margaret, the incident happened within the premises of a commercial bank earlier this morning. The fire caused by a generator spark also affected an adjoining Toyota saloon car belonging to the Rapid Response Squad of the State Police Command stationed outside the premises. Mrs. Margaret said the body was burnt beyond recognition and has been handed over to the police from the Bar Beach Division. She says further report will be given as soon as investigation into the incident is completed. The Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission says it will provide 250 housing units for those displaced by floods in riverine communities in its catchment areas. This is one of the high points of the Commission's medium-term strategic plan of 2022 to 2027 presented at its Stakeholders Forum held in Ilorin, the Kwara state capital. Ibrahim Alege reports.
Many states are ravaged by flooding this year. For some, it has become a perennial occurrence with lives and properties destroyed and many residents displaced. Some hydroelectric power producing areas are not left out of this disaster.
Can you get a researcher paid on your funds, not necessarily for a degree, but if it goes for a degree, good, that can coordinate the events of water from upstream, coordinate it so Kainji can let go its water earlier, and then they can coordinate with Shiruru, release water now. Because what happened this year was a deluge.
There are some areas that the riverine area that this flood is affecting seriously. Then likewise, you want the upper deck also to intervene, to assist and come to the aid of the Kwara state government to look into the road from the Araro village in Jeba that leads to the Kayama area.
This is why the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission is now set to provide 250 housing units for some flood victims.
The Governing Council has approved us to provide them with 250 houses. At least that can be a support to enable them move to somewhere safe.
Also in its medium-term strategic plan, the Commission plans to empower 60,000 skilled and unskilled youths within the next 5 years to take them out of poverty. In this regard, non-graduates will be trained in vocations such as tailoring, painting, while graduates will be trained in advanced skills such as ICT, installation of circuit camera television and solar panels, and other vocations.
Dry season farming, tools for this work. Appropriate ones, like the machineries and the rest of them. We may also need chemicals, fertilizers of associated type.
The hydroelectric power producing states are Kwara, Niger, Kogi, Benue, Kebbi, and Plateau. Ibrahim Alige, TVC News, Ilorin.
In other news, TVC Communications received Award of Excellence in different categories of human resource management at the 54th International Conference and Exhibition of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Gala and Awards Night in Port Harcourt. Senior correspondent Uche Okoro reports.
It's the climax of the four-day event that is regarded as the largest gathering of HRO practitioners in Africa. It featured technical sessions and opportunities for practitioners from 26 state branches to learn from industry experts and network with each other.
HR Inclusion Award.
But today was set aside to acknowledge organizations that have distinguished themselves in the profession.
TVC Communications.
Prominent on that list is TVC Communications, with the award for excelling in employee engagement and internal communication, as well as HRO policy development and implementation.
TVC Communications, as well as being the only media company in Africa that has a Great Place to Work award, I think it's just a group of very talented people who work hard each and every day to bring the best of Africa to the world.
TVC Communications was shortlisted amongst the awardees after a rigorous assessment by the institute.
TVC, you are bold, you are current, you are of standard. That is why you put in for this, and you are well assessed, and the outcome, you are the winner.
TVC have got a practice that is well documented, well deployed, and embraced by TVC organization. And the assessors could see the impact on the result of TVC.
Organizers commended the staff and management of TVC Communications for their hard work in building the organization.
TVC is one of the leading television stations in Nigeria, and it's not surprising the quality of people that you have there. Kemi Shonubi is there, so I'm not surprised.
Like I said last year when we also won some awards, that the reward for hard work is more work. It's not a reason to stop our efforts. It's not a reason to say we've arrived. It's more reason to reinvent ourselves and ask ourselves how we can do it better.
The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management hopes that the award would inspire the recipients and others to constantly improve the standards of the profession. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
Earlier, we told you peace is gradually returning to areas once troubled in Borno State, as we see the state government's resettlement drive now in top gear. Let's speak to Coordinator Peace Ambassadors for Humanitarian Aids and Empowerment, Ahmad Shehu, who joins us live from Maiduguri. What exactly are you proposing as to what government needs to do differently to ensure that those people who are now being resettled enjoy all of the infrastructure needed and are also kept safe?
Okay, thank you for this opportunity to bring the voice of the voiceless. Actually, the essence of our gathering is a policy dialogue, where as a civil society we want to change the way things are done. That by bringing critical stakeholders together, including both the government, local and international organizations. So we reach out to partner with relevant stakeholders like the British Council and then the European Union. And we brought the government and stakeholders together to have this honest discussion for the first time. Main reason why we developed this strategy is the dynamic about civil society have changed. It's not about sitting on the fence and then allowing things to generate into a regret. So what we thought is bringing every stakeholder together to have a conversation so that at the end of the day we come up with a recommendation. And this recommendation will be very inclusive. And at the end of the day, those recommendations will now be translated into a policy brief, where as a civil society, we're going to hold every stakeholder accountable based on the recommendation that was proffered. So coming back to the question that you asked about the essence is, as you know, 30 years of this insurgency has destroyed a lot of community. Social cohesion has been affected, and people have lost their means of livelihood. And we thought the only way we can be able to ensure that there is a seamless reintegration and people pick up their pieces of life is for us to discuss and come up with the recommendation. And I want to take you to some of the key points that came out from the recommendation. Every stakeholder came up with their concern. So let me start from the community. One of the concerns from the community members are they need security and they want their safety to be guaranteed, considering that 70% of the people from this community are farmers. So we thought, okay, this is one thing that the government also needs to respond to. And passionately, the government also responded to the issue. You understand that a lot of efforts are being done, but the needs are massive. So security and the safety of the people that have returned is a key priority here. And then secondly, the issue of involvement of the community in the peace building process as also one of the suggestions that was proffered. And support also is an issue that really comes in from the community, because you see a lot of support are being provided, but you see sometimes it does not reach the people that usually deserve those particular support. Then the civil society also observed and then recommended an all-inclusive process, whereby before any return should take place, all stakeholders will be on board, both the national and international organizations, and the return should be in concert with the Kampala Convention, when people will be now given the choice to either return or not to return here.
See how all of these plans come into fruition, particularly in ensuring a better quality of life for IDPs who are now being resettled at their different homes. Ahmed Shehu is Peace Ambassadors, Coordinator of Peace Ambassadors for Humanitarian Aid and Empowerment. He joins us live from Maiduguri. We'll take a break now and return with business news. Stay with us.
Some business now. Director Governance and Sustainability of Sahara Group, Mrs. A.G. Gray, says the sub-tuning ceremony of the Sahara Group School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship building at the University of Lagos, UNILAG, has opened a world of endless opportunities and global competitiveness for young Africans. Speaking at the event at the Faculty of Sciences Lecture Theatre, Segei said the leading energy and infrastructure conglomerate was delighted to collaborate with the University of Lagos to deliver a world-class facility that would inspire future generations of innovators and entrepreneurs. Other speakers at the event explained that the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center would be open to young people desirous of making difference and birthing solutions to future challenges today, with emphasis on areas such as the future energy, entrepreneurship, data, science, digital arts, culture, artificial intelligence, robotics, fintechs, among others.
Help the students in the area of innovation, entrepreneurship, energy, because we are talking about energy globally now. So what do we need to do so as to be able to conserve energy, to generate energy from other sources? This they are going to bring into focus. They are going to bring experts from all over the world that will interact with our students by the time they finish putting up the structure in another 2-3 years.
I'm looking at slides for buildings I never saw. Today, with technology, things have changed. There's a lot of artificial intelligence, there's a lot of 3D videoing, there's a lot of where you now have people having the opportunity to actually visit places virtually and remotely. What we intend to do is to ensure this environment is created for innovation, is created for free thinking and for free minds to add value to the world.
We must encourage sustainability and adaptability. We must encourage learning, and we must put the necessary infrastructures in place to be able to support the global village we all live in today. We are of the view that improvement in society is relevant. Invariably, the critical infrastructure and facilities needed to make that change we want to see in Africa, in Nigeria, starts to happen.
Nigerian Shippers Council says to continue to drive global best practices in the country's port operations. The executive secretary of the council gave the indication during a two-day seminar on Nigerian Ports Process Manual in Lagos. Ifunanya Eze reports.
As part of the mandate of the Port Standing Tax Team, the maritime industry perspective needs to be reoriented to align with international best practices. Speaking at the seminar on the implementation of the Port Process Manual, the Executive Secretary of the Council, Emmanuel Jime, says the goal is to reduce corruption in the nation's ports and facilitate the ease of doing business.
The overview of the manual and conversations on obligations of various stakeholders, mode of terminal operations, shipping operations, attitude of truckers and role of dock workers as enshrined in the manual will provide beneficial information to add to our knowledge of the sector for us to foster operational efficiency in line with global best practices. If relevant stakeholders and authorities comply with approved standards and rules as enshrined in the manual, challenges faced today will automatically ease off and pave way for seamless operations at our ports.
The purpose of the seminar is to offer participants the opportunity to discuss topics of mutual interest, identify problems plaguing the sector, and recommend effective, sustainable responses.
A proper understanding and application of the manual will bring about cost effectiveness, reduction of waste while maintaining quality service. It will also bring about transparency in the conduct of port businesses, which will produce trust and goodwill, while safeguarding the industry's reputation among investors, partners, customers, and other stakeholders.
The Nigerian Shippers Council, Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, Department of State Services, and Nigerian Ports Authority are collaborating on the seminar. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Nigerians have been urged to patronize made in Nigerian products in order to create employment opportunities for citizens and boost the country's economy. Economists made this submission at the fair in Lagos tagged Building a New Nigeria for Nigerians by Nigerians. Abiola Sholanke has details in this report.
Gathered here for a fair in Lagos tagged Building a New Nigeria for Nigerians by Nigerians are manufacturers of various locally made products. The fair, organized by Produce in Africa, aims to boost made in Nigeria products and the economy.
This is our own payback to the country to add our own 2 cents to how we can improve the economic situation of Nigeria by empowering our people, showing their creativity to the whole world.
Whatever you are making in Nigeria is not only for Nigerians, it's for people all over the world. And you have to believe in your products first before others can believe in it.
From clothes and footwears to foodstuff like gari, palm oil, condiments and seasoning were on display as traders showcased their products.
We need more assistance. We need environmental friendly economy for us to be able to thrive, to increase the Nigerian GDP further, and to create more jobs.
This food seller takes us through our production costs. She explains that Nigeria's overdependence on imported goods, especially those with local substitutes, is one of the major challenges they are facing.
Nigeria is an import-driven economy. Most of our raw materials, apart from the ones that are sourced locally, we have to buy them from the market and they ship them from overseas. So we are also dealing with export inflation rates. We are also dealing with the dollar exchange rate.
I can say between January and now we have a tremendous price change because of the increase in price. Like for our kuli-kuli, the increase in price of groundnut actually affected the kuli-kuli.
There was a call on Nigerians to change their orientation from people addicted to foreign products and services to valuing locally made goods to boost the economy.
We must imbibe the habit of liking our homegrown, home-sourced products. Let's learn to promote the Nigerian products. And I urge our government to also make it easy for us to be able to export good products coming out of our country.
Abiola Sholanke, TVC News, Lagos.
The stock market returned to negative territories as index dipped slightly by 0.21%. The long lines of trade losers include Julius Berger, Seplat Energy, Chams PLC, Lincoln Shaw, and University Press, while the gainers are Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, Regal Insurance, ICO Insurance, and Lasaco Insurance. Aside our Shaw's Asian shares rose and bound yields firm in early trade, despite mild losses from Wall Street overnight as investors turned their focus to the Federal Reserve's policy meeting this week. For hints on what comes next, early in the Asian trading day, MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan was up 0.7%. U.S. stock futures rose 0.2%. Global markets here now, Australian shares were up 0.65%, while Japan's Nikkei stock index rose 0.95%. China's blue chip index was high 0.51% in early trade. Hong Kong Hang Seng index opened up 1.52%. On Monday, U.S. stock lost ground with the major indexes closing out a strong month of gains on weaker footings. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.39%. The S&P 500 lost 0.75%. Nasdaq Composite dropped 1.03%. Oil prices on the international market rose more than 1% today, pairing losses from the previous session, as a weaker U.S. dollar offset widened COVID-19 curbs in China that have stoked fears of slow fuel demand in the world's second largest oil consumer. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose to sell at $88.22 with an uptick of 1.95%. Brent crude futures also experienced an upward review of 2.05%, selling for $94.71 per barrel. Bonny Light remains in the red zone, selling for $93.89 per barrel with a price decline of 0.90%. For the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers are selling for $94.73 per barrel with an uptick of 1.51%.